And we're going. Okay, so this is another Inquiring Minds stream for students. So we're answering questions that students have sent, or in this case, they're responding to my day 5, which also says, like, is there something that you're struggling with or something that's exciting right now? So it's kind of a good and bad, not just questions. But let's see what comes up and see if I can help at all. I'm going to take just a moment to make sure that I'm coming through like I'm supposed to. So forgive me for always starting a few minutes funny. Is there something that you're struggling with or something that's exciting right now? So it's kind of a good and bad, not just questions. But I dig it. All right. So with that, let's actually look at what's going on. This is jumping back to Monday because I had club fair this week, right? Did you have club fair this week? Did you go to club fair? Did you do anything with that? I don't know. So, club fair was a thing this week, which is why this was a Monday response and I am now on Friday. But one of my students said, a struggle I've been dealing with is learning technology and how to figure out what to do with different assignments. They did say one good thing is extra work done this weekend and hanging out with friends. And those are all good things. And we want to celebrate those times we get, whether it's hanging out with friends, whether it's hanging out with friends studying, whether it's just being productive. It's important to acknowledge those little successes because it can be really easy to focus on the negative. People do it a little too often. So good job. As far as learning technologies, so true. A lot of new experiences, a lot of bettering yourself in any context, whether it's work or school or whatever, is taking time to continue to grow, and technology is part of that. And whether it's and you want to be strategic because you only have so much time, but some technologies you're kind of forced into. Learning Canvas as a student, learning Google Drives as a student, and all the things that go with that, Google Drive, Google Slides, and different professors have different things. I know that some students have been frustrated with my textbook technology, and so I'm talking with the publisher there, and so hopefully they'll help me help you along the way. But if you want a tip, if you're trying to use the Kendall Hunt publishing website, one of the challenges is that when you go back, it tries to send you to the purchasing screen for the textbook instead of the one you've already bought. So one student suggested bookmarking the login screen so that you don't have to keep putting that same stuff in over and over again, and you don't have to keep trying to search around for your dashboard and that. So if that helps at all, do that. But technology is a hard thing, a regular thing. It's a lot of times it requires just getting in there and trying to break it. Like I joke that I break things all the time, hopefully not students, but that I intentionally get in and say, what happens if I push on this end or do this? And I just start playing with the functions and the functionality, because sometimes the best experience is just getting in and doing something with it. So I definitely understand learning new technologies being a thing. For me right now, I've been, but whether it's dealing with OBS and streams and trying to figure out how to do sound, if you can see that, how to deal with sound, how to deal with cameras, and how to put it all into a cool thing that the function's not completely terrible, but every time I learn something new, it adds to the quality, and hopefully you guys enjoy that and it's meaningful for you. What I'm really trying to do is develop those proficiencies so that I can add value either to my own work or somebody else's down the line. And as I learn, I can help others. So yeah, definitely keep learning new technologies. Yes, it is part of the college experience. Sometimes students take for granted that these are the meaningful secondary knowledge acquiring proficiencies that you gain. So part of the skills of college are those technologies. So just, and it does, this is one of the places where next semester it's so much easier once you've gotten used to Canvas. Next semester it's so much easier once you've gotten used to Google Drive. By the end of the semester, that final project is so much easier to do if the teacher's consistently using the same technology or whatever it is. So lean into it. Understand technology is frustrating, but hang in there because you just have to recognize it's just part of the learning. Part of the 9 hours for a 3 credit hour course or whatever the homework hours is taking time to learn that technology. I know when I teach my math learning community that my math professor team, who I work with, they have their own technologies, whether they're using Respondus Lockdown Browser or Cam Scanner or whatever. There are ways that they have you submit things or technologies they get you to use on purpose, and some students will go, oh, this assignment's simple, and they'll be like, it's the first week, I'm just going to skip it. And then they get to the second week where it really matters and they can't figure it out, and then they have double frustration because now they're like, I skipped the easy assignment and I jumped in, and now I have both the frustration of trying to figure out the math or whatever it is, both the content of the class and the technology. So take the time, learn the technology. Because it's two separate things, give yourself time to figure out the technology separate from actually trying to submit an assignment, which is why some people will be frustrated by Canvas at 11:55 at night with an assignment that's due at 11:59. So take time to learn the technology separate from the course content you're in, but it is a meaningful part of the learning. All right, let's see what else we got. I'm looking over here, and so yeah, I'm gonna look over here. So with this one, this says, let's see, I'd like to share one struggle I'm having is trying to fill time up since I'm not as busy as I was in high school. And then at the same time, feeling a bit lazy sitting around all day. Now, this is less common for college students, I think, but let's see what else. One good thing that's happening is that getting good hours at my job fills some of that, and I don't feel bored with all the empty hours. Well, I will certainly say that if you're feeling bored, that's not a bad thing. It means that you get a chance to think about how you spend your time. And the opposite is also, like, people struggle because they fill their lives up with so much that they don't really know how, they don't really have time to think and prioritize. So one of the best things to do if you're in a down season like this is, one of the best things you can do in a down season like this is to really think about how you do spend your time and do that architecting of your life, saying, how do I want to spend my time? And then start adding those things in strategically rather than just kind of letting them happen to you. So it's not a bad problem to have. We have seasons in life, and so yes, there's a difference to, and I'll address another challenge here, but there's a difference between being very busy and very not. The other thing is, be careful, because sometimes it feels like you don't have a lot filling your time, and that's sometimes if you're like, I really should be doing more. When I get like that, I'm like, is my life really this slow, or did I forget something? So especially if it's like the first 2 weeks of school and you're thinking, well, this is really different from high school. High school's that 90% of my work is done in person from 8 in the morning to 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and then I have like an hour of homework. Well, college is different, and so if it's one of those things, maybe this student was feeling a little relaxed because the in-person portion of college is like 30% of the time. It's like I spend 3 hours of class in person, and then I've got 6 hours of class homework-wise, and so that we want to make sure we don't have a false sense of security about our time. So hopefully that's not what's happening. Hopefully it's legitimately a chill season right now. But it's good to celebrate if you've got a little bit of calm and quiet to the point of boredom. It gives you a chance to really think about what matters and what you want to spend time on, so that when you get into busy seasons, you've got the right balance. All right, continuing on. Let's see. Okay, so for this one, let's see. Procrastination and working at the last minute is what this person struggle. And then a good thing, just being in college and being a high school graduate. Again, count the successes. Being a high school graduate, awesome sauce. So with that, procrastination and working at the last minute is a struggle. In my textbook and in my YouTube videos, I talk about PTS for writing. Procrastination could be just connected to school completely. It may not just be writing. Just recognize procrastination for what it is. It is a stress response. It's not often a laziness factor for most people. And you can self-reflect and determine whether you're being lazy or whether you're using procrastination as an avoidance strategy, kind of a fight or flight response to a stressor. And so whether it's PTS for writing or whether it's school in general, and you're like, you catch yourself having like a limbic core response, you can feel the cortisol or adrenaline stressing through your system as it's trying to fight or flight. Recognize that procrastination often has a trigger. And so when you get into a place where you're putting off work or a project or a thing, it's not just a matter of motivating yourself. Sometimes it's a matter of recognizing there's a stressor that's causing you to go, bah, and put off the work. And that can happen in a lot of different ways. I had to get a passport, a re-up on my passport recently, and I put it off longer than I should, partially because it was making me nervous to go on the website and look at the pieces. But I have it now. It's exciting. I'll show you. So, just a little personal share. Excited about that. But it was a little bit time consuming to work through. There were technical information pieces I had to have. There are technical documents I had to go acquire. And so sometimes when we're thinking, even if we know what we're doing, sometimes just knowing how much work it is, our body goes, and we freak out. I used to have this a lot, especially anytime I do something new or less familiar, I have this, and so I've got to kind of work past it. I'm getting better at it with things like cooking. I used to not cook a lot, and I'm trying to cook a bit more, and I would think about, it would take so much active thinking to make a new meal or to try a new recipe that I would end up being like, I don't want to deal with that. We're just going to go out to eat family. And I had to figure out that I was having a stress response. So procrastination is a struggle. Some of the ways that you can help with that and not work at the last minute is recognizing where the struggle is coming from, trying to resolve the stressor and go, it's not a character issue. It's that I haven't, it's not like I'm having a moral or ethical problem here. It's that my body is triggering a stress response to a stressor. And so I have to train my body to lean into the challenge instead of run away from it. So I want to shift gears and force my body into fight mode instead of flight mode, if that helps at all. Let's see, Okay, so let's go back over here. So this next student says, one struggle that I have would be becoming too comfortable with being ahead. I would get random motivation to complete as many assignments as I can and take the rest of the days off to relax until I end up with an assignment due at midnight. One good thing would be that I'm keeping a great paying job all while receiving my education. Oh, that's a win. So yes, making money and doing learning, always good. And it's a good habit to be in. At first I was worried about the workload, they say, that it would be too much and I wouldn't be able to manage both just fine because I did what Greg told me to, is what you told me to, and spread out my work instead of doing everything all at once. So they, thank you, this person. You have saved my mentality and my bank account, and I can't thank you enough. Hey, I'll take the thanks, but you're the one who acted on it, so it was just advice until you did something about it. So hopefully, I'm just glad that helps. That's cool. I always like to hear that. Okay, so that's something to be aware of. That if you architect your life, break up things into pieces, make steady progress toward your goal throughout the week, you can make time for the things that you want. A lot of people don't maximize their time and don't plan it, and poor planning produces poor product. So, and that's whether that's our life or whatever it is. And so if you're not planning out how you're going to do something, generally speaking, or acquiring the skills to help you be more effective and planning for acquiring those, then that can be a challenge. But it is important to stay balanced and recognize when that does shift. So this person's in a good, comfortable place, working ahead on assignments. And I'll talk about the first thing they said, but just, it's good to celebrate the wins, so keep doing that. And it's good to plan. If planning means that you signed up for 15 credit hours or 18 credit hours, and you go, when I think about it, I don't have 3 times 18 hours of work in me a week. I can't work 54 hours a week at school stuff and still do my job. So I might pull back. I might, before the refund date at the beginning of the semester, I might go ahead and drop that class, because the one that I can, that I'm just going to pace myself, work steadily, and be successful instead of getting burnt out by the end of the semester or the end of the first year, take a year off and come back to keep going. Well, it'd be better if you took 9 or 12 hours, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying this, but it's better to take 12 hours instead of 18, 4 semesters in a row, and not get burnt out. If you've got to work, you've got to work. It's better to take 9 hours, 4 semesters in a row, consistently, with a patterned life that's structured and healthy. than it is to go 15 hours and 15 hours your first 2 semesters and have to take a year off because you can't do that and work full time, provide for your family, take care of a kid, whatever it is. So recognize the seasons you're in and architect your life to be successful. So the struggle they said they would have, being too comfortable with being ahead. So there is a danger with binge anythinging and then resting. And so if you strategically have like seasons on, seasons off, or like Monday is the big day that you get a lot of stuff done, that's cool. When you the longer arc you have on your cycle, the of whatever it is, productivity or whatever. So if you the harder it is to maintain consistency. And so an example of this might be like for some people, starting their day at the same time every day all week long is a lot easier than, say, having a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. And Monday, Wednesday, Friday is always 7 a.m., but Tuesday, Thursday is like 11 a.m. And Saturday and Sunday, it's whatever. Some people find it easier just to have a consistent 7 a.m. across the board. And that daily arc means that you're cycling every 24 hours, and that consistency is healthy and good. It also means that all of your things are chunked into those 24-hour cycles. That's often easier for consistency. That doesn't necessarily mean it's more productive, but whatever makes you maintain and build momentum, that's the thing you want. An alternative like cycle for that is, you know, kind of like the firefighter cycle or whatever, where they have like it's 48 on, 24 off, or, you know, as an example. So if you've got 2 really full days, Monday and Tuesday, and then 2 really relaxed days, Wednesday and Thursday, that's fine as long as you get your body into the arc or the trajectory or the pattern that you need, and that you can kind of lock that in. What messes that up is if the next 3 days, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, don't quite fit and they're constantly fluctuating. But if you can get into a patterned arc, it takes a little more thought and planning and forcing your body and brain to acknowledge that you're trying to do that. But if you can get into that and into a rhythm, it's good. If you're someone, I mean, I have a hard time with that just because ADHD spaciness. So if I don't have regular reminders or regular patterns kind of cycling, I tend to miss stuff. And so then, but building in, say, like a Friday catch-all time where it's like Friday, I always go and check my email or go into Canvas and make sure I didn't miss any grading or whatever it is, like that can be really good. And so you kind of have to build the pattern, but if you want it to be a pattern, it has to stay consistent, whether it's daily, multiple days a week, or across a whole week. The thing that makes it actually work is the consistency of the pattern. So if you try and do a weekly pattern, but every 3rd week something weird happens, that's really hard to maintain. And so you have to be careful. So, but if you do find it, get yourself into a rhythm. Try not to be thrown off by things like holidays. So that's where planning for them comes in, but know that your body has a clock and can feel it. So even with Labor Day off, technically, I didn't not do anything Monday. I relaxed a little bit, but I used it to do some grading. I used it to meet with some faculty who were having some struggles. And so it wasn't a complete day off, even though I did cancel D&D Club, which now I'm regretting because I missed thems, and I'm looking forward to next Monday. So with that, we'll move on. But this person, thanks for sharing. All right, let's do. We'll go switch. I'm just trying to keep it interesting for you all. So let's see what we've got. This was still from Monday. So it says, I learned online version. Okay. No questions on that one. But it's good to have regular updates. So this person gave a little bit of background response in some questions and chats that we had done. So that's cool. They did say that as they're writing the text, they're looking over the honors section of one of my LCs. So I've got two learning communities right now writing in math. And the math version, or those portions have honors sections to them. So we've probably got 19, I think, honors students this semester, which is fun and exciting. And I might have to do some videos on the honors project. So if that comes through my YouTube feed and you don't want to see it, I'm sorry. But it is good to know what people do. But no questions there. But this person does say, when I get any more questions about it, I'll let you know. And that's good. One of the important things for me with giving students a cell phone number that they can text me at is that if something does come up, they have a fast connection to me, so that it's not delayed by Canvas inbox. And also notifications with Canvas can be a little funny. You can try emailing me, but also when I do that, I tend not to be as concerned with like the formality component that a lot of professors ask for, because the point of it is to get students to ask the questions. And if there's all these layers, I don't usually like that. I want students to be able to come straight to me. So this is why I do it this way. So let's see what else. All right, next person says, I've struggled reading over requirements fully for my assignments. They say it's completely their fault and they're working to improve this as they share. A good thing that's happened is they're done with some healing process they were going through, and they've got some more time now that that's worked out. So, struggling to read over requirements. Let's see. So, that is an important thing. So when it comes to taking in information from assignments, there are so many times when cognitive load is such a factor. And so I try to do this, other teachers try to do this, sometimes we struggle and fail. It's not like we're doing it on purpose, but sometimes we have specific details. And so if you're given an assignment for a class and it's very detailed, recognize if you open that file up or that Canvas assignment up and you go and it's one of those keep scrolling, it freaks me out even when it's my own assignment. And so I'll try and break it up with images and GIFs and memes and things, or formatting, just for the sake of user interface and experience. But not all teachers have that training. They're experts in the thing they're experts in. They're not necessarily experts in visual design and cognitive load when it comes to assignment design. And so if this is you, like, one of the challenges with college is that there's a double burden to learning, that the student is always responsible for being the clearest communicator, as sad as that sounds, and always also responsible for asking questions when they're confused or misunderstanding. And so, just recognizing that that's part of your role is important. But that's separate from this idea of cognitive load and struggling. So if you're reading over requirements for an assignment and it's just like, I don't, or I'm having a trouble processing it, that's okay. Sometimes you do have to kind of breathe, leave it on the screen, walk away, come back. Sometimes, just like with anything else, it can help to like take notes a piece at a time. Like for every kind of paragraph the instructor gave, you can write a note. I'll be honest, like I have the same thing when my wife sends me instructions for like, can you do these things for me? And she'll send me a list of like 4 things. If it's in text message form and it's like on my phone, we were joking about it this summer because she was texting me very straightforward things, and it was like 4 things in a list, but it was in a paragraph text message, which is totally cool. Like we do that. But we found out that my brain sometimes would read the first sentence, kind of skip a couple words, read the last sentence, and kind of try and put it back together. And so I would miss things on the list that my wife wanted me to get done, which is not a good husband thing to do. Relationship goals. So it's important to, whether it's, recognize that cognitive load happens and that your brain, and being overwhelmed is a normal thing, that just a screen of text can overwhelm. And so she's like, I think I need to start doing bullet points for you. And I'm like, yes, please. Because then I can look at it and go, yep. And so it's good. And sometimes she'll even send me pictures to like trigger. So I can scroll through. But yeah, that happened a couple times. So whether it is reading instructions and requirements on an assignment, or whether it is looking at communication from somebody else, or trying to digest a textbook, or whatever it is, it's important to understand that cognitive load is a factor. So hang in there. Don't like beat yourself up for having this issue, but those are some of the strategies. Like try and take it a piece at a time. Try and write yourself notes, and if there is anything unclear or that you're confused by, You can let it rest for 10 minutes and come back and try rereading it. You can message the professor to say, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. Like, this is just good communication, right? It's just good communication. Just say, I need help on this. This is what I'm seeing. Am I correct? Right? So that's all you got to do. It's a great place to start, at least. Okay. So let's go back over here. Bloop. Okay, so next question over on this screen. Boom. That person. All right. I did have a nice 3-day weekend. Thank you. One struggle they're having right now is finding time to fit everything in without stressing over something. They say they stress easily and they're trying to get better at not doing that. Good thing is that a good thing happening right now is all my friends are able to hang out, so I get to see people I care about more often. So going back to that beginning thing, good support systems are healthy. Making time for friendships and things are healthy. There is a component to life, especially as a young person, that involves hustle, but social relationships, especially over the last 5 years, whether it's research on the loneliness epidemic or whether it is just responses to some of the social distancing, physical distancing that happened with COVID, we need to make sure we're valuing the connections we have with other people and doing that and planning in time for that, because and with healthy friendships, healthy social relationships, not ones that are unhealthy. So be careful. But generally, if you've got friends that you're happy to hang out with and they're happy to hang out with you and you can just relax, like planning those sorts of things is really good. And sometimes it takes someone to instigate it. So good job, student, on doing that. Let's see, trying not to stress over everything. You stress less when you have a plan and when you stay flexible, because plans can change. But yeah, so architecting your life, planning as best you can, but also recognizing you can't control everything. You know, St. Francis of Assisi style, right? He's got a whole prayer about, Lord, teach me to recognize the things I can control and the things I can't, and the ability to know the difference, something like that. But yeah, so be careful about thinking you have to control everything, but plan everything you can, control what you can, and architect your life to be healthy. Because sometimes just saying, I'm not going to stress about this, if you do it without a plan, it becomes, it still falls apart. And so then you have a reason to double down next time you have anxiety or stress on that topic. So yeah, just keep that in mind. All right. Okay, so actually I guess I'm doing a back and forth here, but that's that one. The next person's struggle I'm having remembering is what's due and doing it last minute. So remembering what's due and doing it last minute. A good thing is they're keeping up their grades and still doing better than they thought. Okay, so remembering what's due. So here's one challenge. With Canvas, I see a lot of students doing this. They will go and they will get used to using just the Canvas to-do list. And that's one way you can do it. It does get you in the habit of putting out fires, so be careful with that. I'm much more likely to recommend going to things like the course schedule. And there's a reason why all syllabi, at least at CGC as far as I know, say something like the student's responsible for checking Canvas as part of their netiquette or computer proficiency once a day. That's like every 24 hours. So making a regular, again, consistent pattern of behavior to help you succeed. Architect your life so that you have time to check for assignments. And if you know that if you go at the beginning of the semester and you scan through all the due dates that your teacher has, and they all say 11:59 at night, that means that if you start in the morning at like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or whatever, and if you have a habit of just saying, I'm going to take 5 minutes to make sure I didn't miss anything, because this teacher always has 11:59 p.m. due dates, then you're going to be golden, because if you're doing that every day, you can say, okay, here's the stuff I have due today, and I'll go ahead and check for tomorrow too. And if you're doing that every day, one, you're supposed to, because that's what it says in all the syllabi that we produce. This is kind of a standard college policy. But that's the basic thing. And the other is it's just good, consistent habit building. And when you do it, once you get that set, like you just keep doing it. You roll into the next semesters. You develop those student success skills that are part of the expertise of the college experience. So, let's see next. Honors project. Okay, this is going to take a minute to read, so I'll turn. Okay, so regarding the honors project for the Math LC, I just wanted advice if you think the idea for the project is good, or if it's kind of what we're looking for. Since I'm interested in, so this person's interested in nursing, so they wanted to research education levels and that sort of thing. That's a great idea. And really, with our honors project, it's designed so that people engage with data in that math and writing community. You start with engaging with data. You get to choose the data sets, and then you work on communicating that data effectively. So that kind of effective reporting, using using some visuals, that kind of thing. And then throughout the semester, we'll play with engaging with that, whatever your research is, engaging different audiences with that. So, and then at the end, it's can you transform someone else's data to say an infographic or a kid's book or whatever, some sort of creative project that makes it more presented in a more interesting way, instead of just a corporate report type thing. So still, it's a great, I like the idea the student shares here. It's great. It's a good start. Finding the data sets based on the specific requirements that math is looking for is important. So always check with the professors. In this case, it would be check with the math professors to make sure that you're getting a data set that works for the project. But as far as interests go, I think it's really cool. I like projects that are meaningful. So yeah, it sounds good to me. What else? Yeah, so this person talks about their idea, which is a good idea. I like it. Those are good options. Lean into it, and then we can see, you can always check with, in this case, it's, well, there's two different math. Check with your math professor just to make sure that you're on, the data you're looking at, which isn't included here, is able to be processed in the way that they're looking for. And then one struggle they're having, they forgot a part. So they sent a second message. I'm having problem time management, and one good thing happening isn't really good for me, but my family has a promotion. So yay! Again, celebrate those things. I've heard this thing come up where it's like you want to lean into relationships that can celebrate with you when good things happen, and so looking for ways to be thankful that someone else is having a good time, even if you're not. There could be half a dozen people around you who really wanted a promotion or are struggling to find work. But good friends are going to celebrate the good thing happening in your life almost no matter what's going on with theirs. Like, that's a good friend, barring like major catastrophes. So, so I just want to celebrate that. That's cool. Happy for you too. The struggle with time management. So I've already addressed that a couple different places so far today. But again, time management, architecting your life, which means time budgeting. So blocking in, actually I can do something with this. So time budgeting, I get this a lot. So time budgeting says that I'm going to block out chunks of my calendar for specific tasks, and the more specific or for specific, if it's classes or whatever, the focus is. And so it could be that my schedule consistently has a certain type of activity on a certain day, or that I block out 2 hours for this class on this day, however, and I do kind of chunks like that. Keep in mind things I've said in other places, like the Pomodoro method. So even if you chunk a 2-hour amount of time, break it up into 30 minutes with 5-minute breaks in between, that kind of thing. But time budgeting, one of the things people struggle with is when they're time budgeting, they don't take into account things. So like travel time, eating time, shower time. Time budgeting and is one of the best ways to consider time management. And so I want to block in the time. If I'm like, I got school, I'm supposed to, and I've pulled apart the required amount of time for things, and I started putting in, okay, here's my hour and a half in class, and here's my 3 or 4 hours a week or whatever that are designated for that class, or 6 hours is if you've got 3 hours in person, whatever it is. Some students will just cram all the blocks together and say, well, I'm doing 2 hours here for this class, and then I'm starting work. And it'll be like, I'm working on homework 3 to 5. I start work from 5 to midnight. There's no travel time there, which means either you're going to be late by 15 minutes to work or however long it takes to get there, or you're going to have to cut your study time short by 15 minutes. And if you're starting work at 5, are you going to eat on your shift? Are you eating before your shift? That sort of thing. Because then if you need to eat, that means how long does it take you to prep a dinner? Is it 15, 20, 30 minutes? Is it supposed to be a social thing? Is it supposed to be a family meal and they always have dinner at 4:15? So then your study time now is 3 to 4 o'clock because you have to get ready for work till 4:15 and leave straight from the meal and drive. All of these things matter, and we often will go, it takes me 10 minutes to shower, no big deal, and 2 minutes to brush your teeth, and a couple minutes to do your hair or whatever else you have going on, your normal, whatever it is. That's still 15, 20, 30 minutes by the time it adds up. And if you're running from place to place to place, either that's going to go to the wayside, or you're going to cut into your study time or end it short because you're like, I'm tired and I've got stuff to do. So you have to think about that. And sometimes it helps to time budget, to block it in on the calendar, travel time, 30 minutes of travel time, because it takes me 25 to actually drive, and it takes me 2 minutes to get in my car and 2 minutes to get out by the time, by the time it's parking and I'm taking a moment to breathe and I don't want to be stressed when I'm clocking in, whatever it is. And always give a couple minutes cushion, because you never know when there's going to be an accident or a weird light out or a detour. There are things you can't control. So budget your time, block your time out, and remember the little things, including meals, shower time, drive time, and don't build the schedule for the perfect person. Build the schedule for you. Because so many times I've seen people build the perfect schedule that can't be executed by that person. They're like, okay, I'm gonna, they usually wake up naturally at 9 or 10 in the morning, but they're gonna set their alarm at 6:30. And if they set their alarm at 6:30, they'll be done with their shower by 7 and eating breakfast by 7:15, and they'll work out or whatever until 8, and then they'll be set, and then they'll start doing their schoolwork until 10, and then they'll go to class. Except that person doesn't change the schedule. Like, that is a hard shift, and if that doesn't fit who you are and how you usually operate, you can't. It's hard to do things cold turkey like that, right? So instead, you have to work into a schedule like that. So build the schedule based on who you know you to be. And because I used to be a really fine-tuned planner. And if we left at this time, we'd have 2.5 minutes to get here, and that would work perfectly because I can walk across campus. And then after that, and I could do a minute-by-minute plan. And if it's just me, maybe I can execute it. But if anyone else is involved, or I have anything that interrupts my plan, my planning is wasted. And so if it's not something that works in reality, it's a beautiful piece of art with no functionality. So be careful. Plan for who you really are and who you're trying to become. But you have to become that person first. So make that part of the plan too. So if you usually are a 9 a.m. person, don't just start cold turkey 6 a.m. Or if you do, stay consistent, because that's what it'll take to change. But I would usually suggest instead of trying to, suddenly go to bed at like 8 p.m. instead of 11 p.m., work yourself back steadily over a week or two, knowing your goal is to be able to get up at 6 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. So if you're usually an 11 to 9 person, you do it in half-hour increments each night and make little adjustments along the way. Okay, that's what I got. That's what I can, as far as that thing goes. Let's see what else we have. Where's the mouse? Okay. Um, well, this student seems like they're usually supposed to text me on like the first day of class. This is, I think, the first text I've gotten from them for meme day 5. No shame, it happens, but it's fun when I'm like, oh, that's what this is for, because it's like this is 2 weeks after. Anyways, so generally, if you're encouraged to do something 2 weeks before, do it. For today's assignment, one struggle I have been having lately is finding ways to get myself to sit down and work. I don't have to take a break during the day. I don't have time to take a break during the day, and yet I find a way to do so. It's not very productive of me. A good thing, however, is that I've been able to turn in all of my assignments on time miraculously. Well, divine intervention is always useful when it comes to being successful. So that's fun. But let's see. For today's assignment, so the actual question or struggle was struggle I've been having lately is finding ways to get myself to sit down and work. So they've been productive, but they say they're struggling to do that. They say, I don't have time to take a break during the day, and yet I find a way to do so. So you found time, which means you either robbed Peter to pay Paul, or you did something more efficiently than you originally planned. That's how you find time. Either you didn't find it. It's like money. It's like, hey, look, $20. Where'd it come from? Somebody lost it, right? So that's one thing. Or you just didn't spend it on Taco Bell, right? So time has to come from somewhere. And so either you stole it from your sleep, stole it from your personal time, stole it from a relationship, or reallocated. Stole's probably too strong a word, but or you did something more efficiently, right? So instead of taking 20 minutes to cook a meal, you found a way to, instead of let's do this with cooking. So instead of having a pot for rice and a pot for broccoli and a pan for whatever meat you were going to cook up, that then would require the extra time it takes to wash all of those dishes, including the lids and the spatulas and stuff. You used your steamer pot to put the rice in the bottom and the broccoli in the little steamer top, and so you saved yourself time by not having as many dishes and not requiring as many steps in the process of cooking that meal. So if that helps to think about it, look for ways to make your time more efficient. As far as struggling to sit down and work, who says you have to sit down? There are such things as standing desks. I say it regularly, but I've walked around the house reading and bouncing a baby. Like, I've got the book in front of me, and sometimes the book would bounce and my head would be bouncing, and as long as I can read, it's fine. I got the work done. I'd be sitting there standing up, or I wouldn't be sitting there. I'd be standing up. I have, to get dishes done and make sure that my wife could sleep without the baby crying. I had like one of the little papoose things, the baby Bjorn or whatever it was, the baby backpack. And I'd be sitting there, washing dishes with a baby right here or right there, and trying to like sway and keep them awake or sleepy or whatever it is. So you either become more efficient or you reallocate time. And that could be bad if you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, or that could be good if it's choosing the thing that matters more, even if the other thing's a good thing. So that's why I keep using that term, architect your life for success. Because sometimes good things you have to let go of to do great things. If you've got 10 good things and you really need to shove all that energy into 2 great things, there are seasons for that. Sometimes you have a lot of burners because it's a season for that, because you can't make a lot of progress in any one thing. And so trying to decide, because you're waiting for something. And so you keep kind of giving a little bit to everything until one of them has room to grow more. So I don't know if that helps at all. I want to respond to this student by actually typing to them too, just be patient for a minute. Just making sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see. Okay, this part. I did give some strategies that might help in my, what are we calling this? Inquiring Minds live stream 49-6. Cool. So if this person jumps back in and watches this, that was me typing to you. Cool, sent. All right, where are we at next? Doop, 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 doop. Let's see, we did that one. I lost my spot. One struggle I'm having is figuring out what I'm supposed to do for my project for my scholarship. One good thing is that I'm getting 2 opportunities at work that will give me more money and a better position. Those are great. Take those wherever you can and be faithful with them. Be careful and make sure that taking those things will allow you to continue doing the thing you're wanting to do. So I know, and I've said this I think in some places, but quick short story. My first year of college, I had a 4-year scholarship through an honors college at UT Arlington. I was a first generation, my mom had technically had some college but never graduated. When I was like 8, she had gone through like first year English and that sort of thing. But we didn't have a lot of support for understanding how scholarships worked, how to really survive college, and I had to provide for myself. I had a $300 Volvo at the time that was like 15 years old, that I was driving to school in. I was working at McDonald's as just a regular crew member. In my first semester of college, I'm like, I'm going to work 30 hours and I'm going to do my work. And so I planned one thing, but then it took me a while to realize that I'm socially motivated. So I tend to be drawn where people need me more, for better or worse, whether that's an ADHD thing or whether it's just I like providing value to other people, so then I'm motivated where people seem like I give the most value. I'm working on it. Now I'm getting better at like balancing what that really means. So, working at McDonald's, did they need me? Maybe not. So I got drawn into a situation where over the course of the semester, people would drop out of shifts and they'd be like, hey, can you come cover this? We'd really, we've got this thing going on and we really need you here. It'd be great and you can get more hours. And so it was also really nice to have money and be able to spend it on, go out to dinner with friends instead of just eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or mac and cheese once I learned how to cook it. And so I started working went from 30 to 35 hours at work, to 40 hours, to 45 hours, to 50 hours. By mid-semester, 10 weeks into the semester, I was not keeping up with my homework. I was working way more than I planned to. And at one point I had to stay up 52 hours straight to try and get homework done because I worked a midnight to 6 in the morning or something shift at McDonald's at the time. By the end of the semester, I had 2 things happen. I was promoted to shift manager, which was cool, which meant a 50-cent an hour raise, which put me at $8.25 an hour back then. Don't judge me. Yes, maybe I am that old. But it also meant that I lost my scholarship because my grades weren't high enough at the end of the semester. So be careful. Make sure that if you've got a scholarship, and you're doing good things at work, be balanced, architect your life, know that you can't rob Paul to pay Peter and vice versa. So you're a finite human and you need to make sure you're careful and that you do some of those other strategies that I'm talking about. But that's not me saying don't be excited. Be excited and plan accordingly. It's good to have more money and a better position at work. Those are good things. And sometimes they facilitate doing the other things. So just make sure you're thinking about the big picture and how they all fit together so you can be most successful across the board. And if that means sometimes having conversations with family or friends to say, I want to make time for you, but it really needs to be here. It needs to be on a Friday night when work doesn't need me and school doesn't need me, but I really miss you and I need to see you. I just need it to be here. Can we do that? Or talking to your boss about like, I want this opportunity. I need it to look like this a little bit, if that's okay. Possibly saying it more bold. I tend to be a little too much of a pushover. I'm working on it. But yeah, okay. Keep going. What else? One thing I've been struggling with is staying in contact with family members. Sorry, I went into D&D mode. Is staying in contact with family members. These last few weeks, I've been so busy and focused with school, I haven't had a chance to check in with everyone. One good thing is I've managed to work out in the gym 4 to 5 times a week for the last 4 weeks, so that's a huge win for me. Hey, I get that. I have, for better or worse, this year has been a good health year for me. And so I've lost basically roughly 30 to 35 pounds since January, I think. And so that has involved getting a gym membership, doing a keto diet, no sugar, low sugar, low carbs, that kind of thing. Healthy carbs like from non-starchy vegetables, cauliflower, broccoli, spinach, whatever. And I have gone from 1 to 2 times a week to getting into the gym 3 to 5 times a week. So if you're doing that, good job. That's great, and it's healthy, and it's good for you because it changes the way that my levels of energy, and so it's really good. It is a struggle staying in contact with family members, and especially depending on how you are or how your brain works, for sure. Again, it's something like I do have regular reminders in my calendar to call my family, to call my sisters and my mom. I don't always do a good job of doing it when it goes off. And this is an area that I've been trying to grow in for probably a decade now. There was a season when with kids and school and work and everything, I was so busy that it was just not on my radar at all. And in the back of my head, I would tell myself throughout the day or the week, I love them so much, I'm thinking about them, but I'd always want to call them at like 11 o'clock at night, which would be like 1 or 2 their time, depending on time zones and stuff. And so I wouldn't be able to. And so if you can find a way to set regular reminders to do, what's that thing people are calling it, pebbling, where you send them messages from time to time just to let them know you care. It started with me getting better at sending my wife messages when I was working all day long. And then I've been trying to have some sort of consistent pattern of talking with my family, but I'm still struggling. So if you're seeing this, I'm sorry, I love you, that kind of thing. I'm working on it. Right now, they're all working, and so calling or busy with kids. So calling them right now probably wouldn't be the winner. Maybe in an hour, though. I will try. Speaking of which, no, just kidding. That's somebody else. All right, cool. Sorry, you got me to pick up my phone. It's not your fault. It's me. All right, so those are good. So celebrate good times, get into the gym, being healthy. Those are good things. And they do, having your body work like it's supposed to is a good thing. I always liked jobs that were more active. Like I didn't like working out. Like I hate going to the gym. I go to the gym because it's wise and smart and good. And there's a part of the brain that grows when you do something you don't like because it's good. So it was about developing character for me and getting healthy because I've got a wife and 3 daughters, and I want to be strong enough to do my part in living generally and being capable and strong as I can be, so that if needed, I can do what I need to do. And I think the same thing when I'm walking into the classroom with students, especially with things going on. So I'm trying to be stronger and get stronger. So definitely worth doing. Even though I was, if you're someone, this is something I've been kind of chewing on, because sometimes we get, I've seen people talk about, like, no matter who it is, like if you get, they would look at like the examples of like Jeff Bezos or whatever. And it's like at some point, smart guys get fit if they're really smart. The danger is when people get comfortable with the thing that they're best at or most affirmed for. And so then they put all their energy into one thing, thinking that's the thing I'm best at. We can all learn to be good at a variety of things, even if you've got particular skills, and we all have different giftings or whatever you want to, however you describe it. And this is me just kind of verbal processing an idea I've been thinking about. But if I'm really supposed to be a smart guy with a PhD, that, eventually I'm going to take the time to figure out the stuff I'm not good at. I'm not just going to get a PhD and be good at the thing I'm an expert in and leave it at that. Like, I've been trained to take in knowledge, to make good decisions, to be a leader, and that sort of thing. And so part of that means that eventually, even if I didn't grow up with, someone in my life going to the gym or forcing me into sports or whatever it was, I did technically play football and cross country. It was just something, you just did something, some form of physical activity was kind of part of school. But then I got into theater and I read a lot, and that kind of thing happens. But again, if ultimately you're trying to be a smart, wise person, at some point, especially if you have people who care about you and who you care about, at some point you've got to go, what's the smart, wise thing with this, and am I going to get healthy? Am I going to strengthen the, this, limited time only vessel that I have, so that I can make the most of, what I have invested in, so if you're a smart guy, you eventually get fit. Because of what I believe about expertise and learning, and that anybody can learn, I also believe the opposite. If you're a fit guy, you've developed expertise in one area and you can't expand that to be wise and smart. No matter what your intelligence is, I actually like how Alex Hormozy says this. He says, intelligence is how fast you learn. And so if you learn how to learn faster, it just because you've been praised for physical fitness doesn't mean that you're not capable of doing the other things. And I've seen, maybe growing up it was a little more bifurcated as far as people groups and like jocks versus nerds or whatever, at least in TV shows. But I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. Bottom line is, if you're smart, you'll get fit. If you're fit, you've learned to develop knowledge, expertise, and intelligence about something, which means you can do it about something else. So don't let being good at this thing, whether it's physical fitness and a sport, make you think that that's the only thing you're good at, or because you've not done the other things, or you don't have expertise in the other things, whether that's reading or math or whatever. And if you're good at those things and you think, I don't need to get fit, or smart guys don't need to get fit, or you take it on as like an identity marker, that's when you get in trouble. So instead, the best thing to do is be smart, wise, and healthy. So do all of the things. And just know that you've got a systemic limit. You've got systemic. Your body's capable of a certain amount of things before your brain starts to get affected, and your brain's capable of a certain amount of things until your body gets affected. And so there's a systemic limit, even if you've got the proportions worked out. So you got to make sure you're balancing things based on your needs. All right, diatribe over. Tribal diets? No, that's different. Okay, this one is, oh, hey, look, we've got a writing question. Cool. In the sociocultural aspect of writing, would it be acceptable to niche on a certain demographic and expand into a broader audience? So, for instance, if we were going to talk about, let's see, all right, so for instance, if we were going to talk about immigration and how it affects Arizonans' population and taxes, to later expand how overall it affects the United States and other countries as well. So if we're talking about audience, I guess we've got two things going on here. The question's about the sociocultural aspect of writing, which has to do with norms, conventions, beliefs, and how they influence what we're writing and how we gear our writing toward a target audience based on what our beliefs are that we're trying to convey and what their beliefs are. Now, this student doesn't say what political alignment they're having, but they're just saying, if I'm talking about immigration, and I think there are some effects to Arizonans' population or taxes or whatever, can I then, it sounds like they're saying, can I expand to how this might affect the U.S. as a whole or other countries? It's like, well, that's an analytical projection you're doing. So it's slightly separate from audience. More importantly is, if you're looking at immigration as a sociocultural aspect of writing, who's your target audience for that type of message? So yes, it's acceptable to choose a niche audience or a targeted audience or a certain demographic to talk to. I don't know that I would recommend making it a target audience or a target demographic to talk about, because then there's a danger in hyper focusing on a particular people group and saying for good whether they're super good or super bad, or because whatever the case is, if you're it's one thing to say I need to target this group and what they need to know about this activity, but there's a whole lot of room for kind of xenophobic approaches where we start creating an us-them mentality. And so we want to be careful generally with topics like this. And the sociocultural is, we haven't got to it in any of my classes yet. I usually wait till like week 10 or 12 because it takes an unpacking beyond just writing norms and that sort of thing. So I'll talk about conventions and norms generally, but go watch my videos on the sociocultural aspect of writing to get a little more depth of like how this works. One of the challenges with that is we have a blend here. So the sociocultural aspect, the reason all these aspects work together is the sociocultural aspect of writing is about us honoring the beliefs of anyone involved and recognizing that because someone believes them, they have value, whether they're true or not. That's what the sociocultural aspect does. It is often a good idea to pair, and this is why the system of the aspects of writing does work well, is the scientific aspect of writing tells us we should care about truth and what can be objectively verified outside of our own selective perspective. So we've got the sociocultural saying, I care about your selective perspective, your unique experiences, and the fact that wherever you're at on any political frame, the fact that you believe it matters. As a writing thing, the fact that someone I'm trying to talk to cares about a thing, even if it's not my thing, matters. Now, when we start leaning into the scientific aspect of writing and we're like, well, we should think about logic and evidence and research, that's not something that's supposed to negate the valuing of someone's experience. These are mutually exclusive truths that I can both value the fact that someone disagrees with me and confirm or challenge based on a factual standpoint some of the things that other people believe or that I believe. And so we want to be careful because there is a way to do this and there's a way to do it in a healthy way. If we're not careful, it's really easy to go certain types of immigrants are causing problems for certain types of Americans, and that's like the worst case scenario here. So I'd be careful. That doesn't mean that's what the student's gonna do or trying to do. I'm just saying it's an easy step from here. So I would say there's nothing wrong with targeting an audience. That's marketing. It's finding your avatar, your user profile, because you're trying to add value to a specific person or type of people. That's okay, within reason. And there are some sociocultural things that would say like that doesn't mean you get to deny resources to other people, but if you're trying to provide a product or encourage and do a good thing, then that's good. The analytical side of this is the difference between a case study or an individual contextualized experience of Arizona population and taxes. Not all contexts are the same, and not all places deal with immigration the same way or deal with taxes the same way, and not all countries deal with these things the same way. So this is one of the reasons why I often don't teach I don't allow for just generally open-ended topics like pick your hot take of the week or pick your political issue of the week, for a couple reasons. One, it's often impersonal in the sense of like it's something, especially with the students, especially with college students, like it can be good to examine an issue, a political issue or whatever, and do background research on it, on a topic that you're intrigued by. But often in a first-year class, just writing a paper about a political issue, I don't find to be as meaningful from becoming a better writer standpoint. I think engaging with what's truth and what's true or confirmable scientifically, or with data, versus what is honoring to the beliefs of people involved, those are all good things. But often when we get into, it doesn't mean that doing that makes us a generally better writer across the board. So that's why I do tend to lean into a writing about writing curriculum, because one, we can address these issues in a roundabout way. We can talk about like things connected to writing and communication and language that also are related to immigration, and that's a topically oriented take on something actually connected to the class. But it's too easy to say that, like, well, I'm making an argument, so it fits a rhetoric class. It's one of the reasons why I focus on developing writers' expertise, developing writers' skills, so that when they figure out what they believe or what they care about, they have the tools necessary first to really challenge where their beliefs are coming from in a good way, like not in a way that says, oh, I'm done with all this, but saying like, okay, I recognize that I believe this because of these influences in my life, and now it's time to go see if what I believe also anchors to truth beyond my echo chamber, right? And so hopefully I'll my students to critically think about issues and to say, you know what, I can't go apples for apples in this context. I can't go Arizona context fits U.S. context and other countries, like that's getting way beyond my sphere of knowledge and my sphere, and I need to be careful about that. So those are communication things, so that once I do decide what I believe and have confirmed it with solid research and evidence that it comes from a variety of parties, whether they agree with me or not, that then I can be more effective at communicating that in a balanced way, so that the thing that most matters comes through, right? So I kind of went off on a side note there. Let's see. Okay, keep going. And just for the sake of this, let's switch it up. Keep some visual interest. Okay, so this one says, so hope you had a good Labor Day too. For anyone who said that to me, I've got a couple students who have said it, so I hope you had a great Labor Day as well. Personally, let's see, dinner with family's good. This person got to do that. So one of the challenges they had, unfortunately, was that they had, even though there was a family time, they had to spend time with college online assignments, since there were 5 classes with postings between Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so, yeah, that can just wear you out sometimes. And then, like, that's the tough thing. It's like, there are times when I was presenting at a conference in Vegas, like, and my sister lived in that town. So we stayed with her so we could kind of double up, which I don't know. I am hesitant about whether I should have done it that way, but the money and the time and everything, I'm not great at it. I'm trying to get better. So, but when I was a grad student, it's like our whole family went to Vegas. All we did was go to Carnival, nothing spicy, for good reason. But we spent time with my sister, and there were times when I was like, okay, like, my daughters and my wife got to visit with my side of the family, but I didn't, because I'm like, I have to work for 2 hours on this project or grade these papers, because I technically don't get paid if I don't do these things, and so this vacation is complicated. But it was the only way that I could even have partial funding for a thing, so that's what it is. So yeah, I can understand that would be a challenge. And again, sometimes it's having real conversations to say, you know, I love you. I can give you this amount of time, but I also have to do this because it's important and it's part of what I'm growing into. And so, you know, whatever the reasons are, explain them and say, here's my goal. Here's what I'm trying to do. It doesn't mean I don't love you. I care about you very much. I have to do this though to accomplish my goals. And that does mean only getting to spend this much time with you. In hindsight, do I think that was a great idea? I'm sure there are moments that I will question it, especially now that that sister lives in Alaska and I don't get to see her as much. So, yeah, sad piece. What else did this? So they were able to spend time with family, but that was kind of the big thing there. So I hear you. It's tough. I'm tracking. All right. This student. The student says, I struggle mentally with a lot of things, but other than that, I'm not really having any other issues, other struggles. One good thing is nothing's really going on in my life. Work's doing good because a guy came back from a long vacation, and he's a good work friend. I enjoy talking with him. So glad it's good to have people at your work that you can connect with that help get the job done, that you and are good team members. So that's awesome. That I struggle mentally with a lot of things is a very broad statement. So whether that's struggling mentally, like I'm having a hard time learning things in class, or whether that's a mental health variety of things, whether it's anxiety or stress or focus or depression, whatever it is, it's okay to struggle. If you're struggling, make sure and ask for help from someone who has skills to help you. And so if you're struggling with learning, talk to your professors. If you're struggling with social emotional things, talk to your friends and family, especially ones who are healthy and that sort of thing. If you're struggling mentally with bigger picture just life stuff and having a hard time with depression or other things, that's something that it's okay to get counseling for, to ask for help for. That's I've got it in chapter 2 of my textbook. Don't be afraid to ask for help, find mentors, do that thing. If it's any encouragement, I'm a grown man and who has a family, who is a father, who's a professor, who's a leader in his community. I serve in the youth, and I get counseling sometimes. It's like there was a long time where I couldn't afford it, and I didn't feel like I had I didn't feel like I had people in my life that were available to talk to about it, or that I was just too busy to really think about it. And that was dangerous. I wasn't as healthy in those days because I couldn't process through some of the things that were going through my head. So if you've got people in your life you can talk to, or if you've got the resources available, whether it's through the college, like the college has counseling resources for free, I think for at least a little bit, and in a variety of ways, like not just personal counseling, but like career counseling and academic counseling. Like, we got a variety of resources, so use those. So don't know what it means to struggle mentally with a lot of things, but depending on what it is, if it's learning, ask for help from people who are good at that. If it's relationship, ask for help from people who are good at that. If you need a specialist's advice and effort, the school has some resources. If you're a student of mine, which in this case it is, you can just reach out to me, send me a message and say, hey, you talked about resources. Can you just connect me with those? And I'll either walk you over to the counseling room after a class, or I can put through what's called a CARES report that instructors have that just says this student expressed a desire or a need for help. And sometimes I do that because students need food or have a living situation issue that they're trying to get help with. And sometimes it's more intense and sometimes scary things. So whatever that means for you, know that there are resources, and don't stay in a place that'll just be the same. Get into a place of growth by finding people who can support you and help you, and using the resources you have so that it's not just you going through something. All right, so, whoops, that's the wrong one. All right, continue on. Let's see what's there. Again, currently having trouble with managing time between work and school, but got to go see a boyfriend who lives in another state on Labor Day. So congratulations, getting to go see a significant other, someone you care about. Amazing, always good. As someone who met his wife through MySpace, don't judge. It was nice when I finally got to go see her in person, or anytime she got to come visit me before we officially got married a year after meeting or so. So it was a complicated story. I'm not telling it right now. That's for another day. But currently having trouble with managing time between work and school. Hey, me too. Though technically my work and school overlap a little bit. It's always been that way. And I've talked a lot about time management so far, so I don't want to belabor that. Go back a couple, like half an hour look at some of those strategies I said. Work and school specifically can be about, again, time budgeting and talking to people, talking to your professors, talking more importantly to your bosses, and letting them know your goals and how they fit into that, and how you want to maximize the time at work or maximize the time at school, whatever it is. Because you can't, if you can do both, you're going to be tired, and you have to recognize that it's going to be hard, and sometimes hard isn't bad, it just is. And doing a good thing sometimes is hard. Investing in yourself and covering the bills, it's hard. As someone who worked 50 hours at a block yard a week and took 4 college classes until I finished a bachelor's, and then took a full load as a master's student and taught a course, I know this feeling, and it'll be okay. It is hard, but if you know what you're doing it for, and you are, whether it's you're looking them in the eyes every day because they're little people and you love them, or whatever, or you're projecting ahead to, you know, having a family someday, or wanting to have a career where you have a little more choice or freedom, you know, those are all good things. So sometimes hard is just hard, and sometimes you can be more efficient or architect your life. Sorry for being a broken record on this. Okay, continuing on. Let's see. This seems content specific or class specific. Let's see. I'm struggling with being efficient on the meme days assignments. It takes me a long time to complete them. But one good thing is I'm getting used to the routines of my classes. Okay, so you get into a rhythm. That's great. So good job getting into a rhythm with your classes and trying to get a feel for how they work. Good professors often will try and make the work have a rhythm to it. The ones I know, including myself and my math teachers and my chemistry teachers, will try and get students into a consistent rhythm of a type of assignment due on a specific day, where it's like Tuesday's a content day, but Friday's a draft day, or whatever it is. And so really good that you're getting into a rhythm and a routine. That's awesome. With my meme day assignments, keep in mind, like in my class, I usually have 2 to 3 assignments a week. And if you're in an in-person or hybrid class, that means you're doing 6 to 7.5 hours of work a week. If you're one of my online classes that's a 16-week class, then that's still 9 hours a week. And if it's an 8-week class, that's 18 hours a week. So my meme days could be anywhere from a 3-hour assignment to a 7 or 8 hour assignment. And the idea isn't that you would do that all at once. Like, I have pieces of content, videos and responses, reading and responses. There are pieces to them. So if it's okay if it takes a while, the question is it taking more than it's supposed to? So if I say it's, you know, that you're supposed to do 7 hours of homework a week, and it's taking you really only 4.5 hours to get the homework done, maybe you're on target. Or maybe you're not. If you're getting all the points and that's only taking 4.5 hours, great. If I say it takes 7 hours and it's taking 7 hours, it might be taking a long time, but it's not taking too long of a time. It's taking the right amount of time. And so you decide whether you really aren't being efficient, or whether it's just a lot of work and it's supposed to be a lot of work. So managing the expectations for the assignments and for yourself. Because like I had a student over the summer who struggled to really understand that the drafts we were writing in class were supposed to take 2 to 3 hours to write. And so when it took over 20 minutes, got tempted to go do GPT support, which is not an okay thing from an academic standpoint. So yeah, especially when I explicitly say don't do it. It's for a topic for another time. But have a reasonable expectation for the type of work you're supposed to be doing. And so if it's taking a while, it takes a while sometimes. If it's taking twice as much as your teacher said it's supposed to, there might be some efficiency. There might even be a check for anxiety, check for stress, check for reading struggles. Make sure that that nothing's happening that would be maybe dyslexia oriented. If it's taking you, figure out where the pinch points are. Does it take you a while to read and process information, or does it take you a while to get started? Or does it just take you a while because you're watching 2 hours of videos and doing an hour of reading and writing 3 hours of response across a week? It might be the right amount of work. It just might feel like more than you're used to, especially used to doing as homework. So, yeah, that's what I would say there. Oh my goodness, I was so far behind on questions. How long am I at right now? What's my length of video? 1 hour and 20 minutes. If you're hanging in there and you haven't tuned out to go get a snack, you can do that right now. Because dear goodness, I didn't realize how many of these I still have 24. That's scary. This is what happens when I have an assignment that is supposed to be a way for me to connect with students, which is what these are, and like students get a chance to connect. And sometimes when I'm responding to these, like I do this in text message too, and maybe I'm talking slow, I am tired, I had a meeting today, I did 2 or 3 hours of work, I had a long day yesterday, so maybe there's a little bit of random side quest conversations happening here, but hopefully it's all good and storytelling and that kind of thing. But this is sometimes like this, all of this, the asking students to send me questions, like I think it's a best practice, and it helps students be able to share some of the things they're going through. It helps me know them better. I know people who don't do this, and that's okay. But I'm realizing, having it charted in 1.5 hours or so of conversation is kind of interesting now. Sorry, I'm self-reflective and hyperverbal processing. Let's look at what this next one is. Hold on. So, I'm not sure I understand the struggle, but I'm happy about the good thing they shared, this person. They struggle with just working their way around Canvas and everything. One good thing is, academically, the videos are very helpful on understanding the concepts. So whether that's, in this case, is this an LC student? Yes. So that could be my videos, it could be the math videos, it could be both of our videos. So I'm glad that the material we've created for students is helping you. That's great. That's awesome. Struggling having working your way around Canvas and everything. So that could be, I would say, how are you navigating Canvas? Are you using your phone? Because that app is a little challenging sometimes, but it does have some features that do make things a little easier sometimes, depending on the assignment. Or if you're using a browser, do you have the browser set in a way, is the browser one that's making it easy for you to see menus and navigate things? Sometimes if you've got a Chromebook, it will show as the app, not as the desktop browser, and they have different user interfaces. So this is meaningful for students who might be struggling to navigate the user interface of Canvas. If the app is very different from the desktop view, and so maybe switch to the desktop view if you're using the app, or vice versa. Maybe you'll find one that fits kind of your thought process better. In most classes, going to modules should have everything built out for you, at least the classes that I know of. But I always tell people, like, explore. In the first couple weeks, click everything you can click. Move around, try and remember how you got there, but also know that a lot of classes are designed so that you can start at the top module and go assignment by assignment by assignment by assignment. Just make sure you're like, look at the documents sometimes it's again that cognitive load thing. There's a lot in Canvas. Syllabi are usually 10 pages long. Half of that's policies required by the college. And some of those are repeated policies about basic things like don't be a jerk, talk to people nice on the internet, show up to class, basic things, turn in your work and you'll do well, or there are consequences. Here are the consequences. Like at some point, it's like if you're doing your job as a student, half those policies don't matter. Those policies, like most legal documents, are there for the people who break them. The people who were going to do good work no matter what. Often don't really have to look at them that much. If you're not turning in your assignments late, you never need to know what the late policy is, but if you have an emergency or something comes up, that happens. Um, so yeah, don't know which version of that you're struggling with, but definitely reach out. And let's talk through it more. I'll try and reach out to you in class when I see you next. Moving on. This one's got a bit of text to it, so let's switch it up. I've been having, wait, hold on. A challenge I'm having with a different class. I'm new to using Canvas, and one class makes it a bit difficult to understand how each module goes when taking notes. I can see why that would be a struggle. Anytime you're having a problem in a class, don't be afraid to talk to the professor. They may not all say text me, email me, whatever time of day like I do, but it's part of our job to support you. So if you message them, almost every instructor should be getting back to you within 24 hours if it's during the week, or 48 hours over a weekend. Like, that's reasonable. So if you've got like this, I don't understand Canvas, like that's not a specific assignment question. That's a help. Your course is designed in a way that doesn't make sense to me. Ask them, reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I bet they're not as scary as it seems. And if they are, come let me know, and I'll try. There are things we can talk through. Sometimes students have showed me Canvas courses, and I'm like, oh, I get the logic here. Okay, it seems like they're trying to do X, Y, or Z with this, so pay attention to this thing. And so sometimes that's just, it's a new literacy. And it's sociocultural norms. A teacher can design their class in a way that makes sense to them, but responding to the audience of their students and how their students are experiencing it could be different than the teacher realizes. And so sometimes it's just recognizing that the sociocultural norms and the system that's designed is not necessarily designed for you as a user. Or the teacher thinks it's working one way and they don't know until you ask them or give them feedback that it doesn't work. Always talk to the teacher. It gives them good feedback. It makes them better teachers to know how people are responding. Good thing that's happening has been work. Haven't been working so much to focus on school, so falling in love with my job again. So basically, I'm not overworking, and it's kind of that absence makes the heart grow fonder, if I'm understanding that. So hooray! If it was a heavy summer of work and now you have a comfortable amount of work, the kind that you can enjoy without being overwhelmed by, that's amazing. And sometimes it's nice to have just enough of something and not all of something, like chocolate. You have too much chocolate, you end up hating it because never mind. I have friends with stories. So, let's see. One struggle has been with math. Not a severe issue. I'm just always second guessing myself in math. Well, you know what? I think a lot of people do that. Second guessing yourself in math it's the same kind of identity challenge that people have with writing. They'll second guess themselves as writers, and it often builds on that PTS background experience. So if you're second guessing yourself in math, cool. What are you second guessing about? Is it something you know the process of, but it's just a constant, like, I just don't know if I did it right? Like, is it a confidence thing where even when you think you're wrong? Or is it I really don't know it well enough to know? Because that you can fix. If a confidence issue, look at your track record. An understanding issue, fix your track record, right? So if you are in a situation where the math isn't making sense and it's making you not feel confident about what you're doing, you have to do more practice until you're confident in the steps it takes to solve that type of problem. It means you need more practice. It doesn't mean there's something wrong. You're second guessing yourself for the same reason a driver would second guess themselves without enough practice. The same reason if someone tosses a 14-year-old behind the wheel of a vehicle who's never driven before, they are very uncomfortable because they understand that there's consequences to bad decisions or tough decisions or wrong decisions, even if they're well thought out. If you don't know what a stop sign is, you don't stop, and there are consequences for that. So if you don't know how to do the math, it means you need more practice. And so if you know how to do the math, and when you solve it, the answers are right and match what your math professor says they're getting and the process matches, well, then you have a confidence issue, not a competence issue. So the best way to fix a confidence issue is develop competence. And if you've developed competence, that means you're regularly getting the answer right and you're going to be more confident. The only time that should be shaken up is if you get new math, and then you have to develop more competence. And that's normal, that's learning. So I don't know if that's oversimplifying. And you said it's not a severe issue, but if you're second guessing yourself in math, those are the two things. You've either got a confidence issue because you're not aware that you're confident. So go look at your track record. If your track record says, I can walk through this process, I can explain this process, I can solve new problems, consistently getting the answer that the teacher says I'm supposed to get, well, your confidence isn't, your confidence is just you have proof, you're good, right? If you go back and you're like, my track record's shot, I can't do that, I don't know how to explain it. Well, that's not a confidence issue. You're not confident because you don't know, and you have to invest more time in it to know. So build your competence and your confidence will get fixed. And if it's just confidence, acknowledge your success. Good thing they're enjoying English. Yay. Jazz hands. I'm loving all the information I'm learning. Last semester it was all essays, no learning. We were just told to provide essays 24/7, but in this class I'm learning stuff that makes me a better writer, and I love it. I love that you love it. Thank you. That's amazing, and that makes me feel so happy. And I'm not gonna make the assumption that you're just saying that to make me feel good about myself. So thank you. I'm glad that it is providing value for you. All right. Next one. Struggle I'm having is adapting to Canvas. I've gotten pretty good, but my high school is very anti-technology, so adapting to turning in things online and all this is weird. But it's also my good thing because I can see grades a lot faster and plan out my week with school. Hey, that's awesome. So when you recognize where the struggle is, why the technology is not working, again, so now we're seeing a lot of patterns here. Like some students, if you're watching this and you've had one of the past questions, hopefully this is encouraging because you're not alone. People are struggling with technology. People are struggling to feel confident with the technology, but they're learning that the technology helps. And if it's not part of your background, you've got to give yourself room to learn it. It's just part of the process. If you've never used Canvas before, if you've never had a particular type of math before, if you've never written that type of paper before, you get more confident at those things when you learn how to do it and you practice it, because the competence leads to confidence, whether it's technology or writing or math or whatever. So just to kind of bring it all together here. I'm going to keep moving. I feel like sometimes I struggle to take successful and beneficial notes. This week, I have family visiting who usually live out of state. Yay, family visiting is fun. It's really encouraging to see how many of my students value the people in their lives. It means you have people who care about you. It means that, one, they're coming to visit, which is cool, right? Cool enough to come visit, even in this hot weather, as my wife and kids would say. And so that's pretty awesome. So celebrate good times. Come on. The struggle to take successful and beneficial notes. I don't know what successful means, but beneficial notes, I can get that. So successful, I don't know if there's a criteria for specific classes or something. Beneficial notes are ones that help you learn. So there are good note-taking models, or the Cornell model. There's tons of resources online. Crash Course has a video on it. There's plenty of that sort of thing. Sometimes taking notes is the successful note-taking experience is the one that helps you remember what you learned. And so sometimes taking notes looks like drawing storyboard pictures of what the teacher's talking about, what the professor's talking about. So that's an alternative to traditional note-taking. I was never very good at notes, but I was an active participant in class, and I would ask questions regularly. Hyperverbal processor, who'da thunk? I'm trying to get better at taking notes, but my notes were always write down as much as I could or write down specialty terms. And sometimes I would wish that the teacher would just give me 2 minutes to just let my brain process onto paper. And so One note-taking strategy is just try and do a mind dump. The other thing is, it's not even a note-taking strategy, it's just a learning strategy, is if you don't think you're taking good notes, see what you can bring into your everyday life. Talk with family and friends and classmates about the thing that day that you learned. When you do that, you practice articulating the truths, the things that you're learning, and they get to ask you questions that force your brain to be challenged to think back to the context. And there is a cycle to memory, and there's like the, oh my gosh, I can't remember what the box system is. Leitner method, maybe? I think that's right, the Leitner method. But some of those are just study skills. But Cornell Notes is a great note-taking strategy, but try not to write everything down. And if your notes are basically just pictures of boards, that's not really you cognitively processing information. So if notes are ones that you can study from, that means you have to think of yourself when you're writing, the self that's you 5 days from now, 2 weeks from now. And so you have to make sure there's enough context in that writing for whoever's going to read it 2 weeks from now, because you're not going to be the person who's here, you're going to be the person who's there. So you are writing for yourself as an audience, and you need to give yourself enough context to remember your thought process or the things that are happening that make the thing work. If you just have like a formula with no context or labels or no explanation and no problems worked out, that's going to be really hard to really remember or for it to be useful or beneficial. But that's a great thing to be struggling with and figuring out. Okay, this one. So, one struggle I have is staying motivated and getting all my work done on time. I tend to get overwhelmed, and then it gets really hard for me to stay on the topic of my work. One good thing happening is that a best friend is willing to do work with me to help me stay motivated. That's good. Developing a social support system, especially ones that are healthy, that like not that people are doing work with you for you, but that they're doing work with you. So if you've got two people in the same class, it's not you do the odds and I do the evens and then we copy each other's work. It's you do the odds, I'll do the evens. Let's talk about the struggles we had with those problems, and then I'll do the odds and you do the evens, and we'll see what happens. But it's being present in each other's lives, sometimes just to be there, to work together side by side, to know you're not alone. That's really good. So use those support systems well. Don't let people do work for you, because I have seen that happen, which is technically a form of plagiarism. Even if it's just my boyfriend helped me figure this thing out or gave me ideas for my argument. It's good to talk with people about, but the other person should really be asking you questions, not providing you content or providing you answers. So keep that in mind. But having best friends willing to work with you, great, very good. The staying motivated to get all your work done, getting overwhelmed, those are interrelated. Motivation and stress, that whole PTS thing I talked about a little bit ago, like those are reciprocal or interactive problems. You're not motivated because past experiences told you that was painful or bad. And sometimes we don't realize it in our minds. We realize it like at a gut level because we're having an endocrine response of stress and cortisol when we think about that particular type of work, and so then we put it off or procrastinate or whatever. So it goes back into that whole cycle of unhealthy thinking or unhealthy responses, and learning to retrain our body to not release cortisol, but to get excited about little successes. And so the one thing you can do is start with small, regular increments of work. If you're getting overwhelmed, say I won't get overwhelmed. Try, start with. Don't tell yourself you won't get overwhelmed. Just say like, one, if I get overwhelmed, it's okay. I'm going to set a timer and I'm only committing to 5 minutes of work, or one problem, or reading one page, or writing 100 words, or whatever it is. Set a 2-minute free write timer. Keep it small, manageable, incremental pieces until you reprogram your brain to say, I have successes. Reprogram your body to say, this isn't a stressful situation because I am winning when I set 2-minute timers or 5-minute timers. or whatever you're capable of. Find your capacity and stretch it just a little bit, or go just below it to say, I can do 10 minutes. If I can do 10 minutes, do that 3 or 4 times, and then say, you know what, if I can do four sets at 10 minutes, maybe tomorrow I can do 5 sets at 10 minutes, or 4 sets of 12 minutes. It's not unlike reps at the gym. It's just schoolwork oriented. It's the same incremental process building. So, okay, let's see, and back. So if these switches are getting cheesy, I'm sorry, but it also helps me kind of stretch to move around. And if you're noticing the stuffies over here, this is a shared space. It's my den. It's where I work, and my daughters have their stuff, and we've got a bunch of books, and we've got music stands. There's all kinds of cool stuff in here. I've got a Lego shop sitting right next to me on the desk here. It's fun. It's a happening place. Just look at these 2 party animals. I'm sorry. Okay, so this student says, a struggle that I'm facing right now is the loss of my last remaining pet lizard. And that's sad. And I'm sorry you're dealing with that. That's no fun. Losing animals is not a happy experience. And it does happen sometimes in the semester where I'll have students say they had to take their dog to the vet, or they had to take a pet, or something happened. And I'm sorry you're going through that. On the positive side, they have a new friend, and they're scheduled to meet up outside of school for the first time. And that's the first time they've done that since starting school. So that is very cool. And it does take bravery, It takes a little bit of trust and a little bit of bravery to be able to meet with someone outside the normal context. But it's absolutely necessary if you want to have a good time, and a healthy time. Cool. So I'm sorry about the lizard. I'm proud of you for reaching out and being bold about meeting someone outside of school for the first time. So yeah, good job. And you can always keep it light. Go to coffee. You can even start just outside the classroom. So generally stepping back and saying, do you want to just walk over to the library with me, hang out there? Do you want to go to this club with me, and hang out there, art club, D&D club, whatever it is, science club? We have those. It's cool. Do you want to go to Coyote Cafe and grab lunch together? Then it's low stakes and that sort of thing. But honestly, one of the things I've considered trying to encourage is can we let people opt into a system that says you live within a mile of this person, and they're in your X, Y, or Z class? Letting someone opt into something like that. Yeah, I'm interested in finding friends in my neighborhood. That would be cool based on the data that the school has, But right now it's protected data, so that's a good thing too. But it's an idea. Cool. Real fast, because I got this student text and they're trying to cite my textbook, I'm going to respond to that directly to them, so just give me a moment and don't judge. If you're just watching this, go get a break, go get a snack. Let's see. There is an ISBN for the book, comma, but I'd have to look it up, period. For the sake of citing the source, comma, all you need is Fields, comma, 2024. Oh, that's not the way I should do it. All you need is, you've got the author, me. The year of publication is 2024. You've got the title, and you've got the URL, period. So I would just use that, period. I thought the ISBN was listed on the Concourse syllabus, though, now that I think about it, period. What you're hearing me do is a voice-to-text function that my phone has. So when I'm saying the punctuation, I realize that's weird. And what's been funny is when I'm doing a voice note to somebody or to myself, and I've gotten in the habit of actually saying the quote, the punctuation. But yeah, so sometimes students, if it seems like I'm not doing punctuation, it's because I'm not saying it. And sometimes, if I'm driving, that's a great way for me to do a voice to text and still respond to students, and again make that time efficient, assuming I'm being safe with the driving. But yeah, all right. So with that, Let me make sure I'm not missing any other things since I have been going for a while, and sometimes these things are important. Scrolling through my stuff here. That one's just a thank you and happy Friday for an email I sent. That is something that I don't need to look at right now. Awesome. I appreciate your patience. So let's see what's next. And hopefully, long term, people who come back to this, if you guys aren't just watching straight through, you'd be able to just skip ahead like I've done on some of the other videos to the actual next question. So yeah, here we go. Next one is, and I'll probably stop here soon. I still have a good amount of questions, but my family's going to be home soon. So I'll answer one more and then we'll go. So one struggle I'm having is with some of the assignments, specifically trying to understand exactly what I'm supposed to be turning in. As an example, the collage project, trying to determine if you wanted the collage of things that are math or English related, or things that are simultaneously math and English related. This question, I would have been happy with both. I didn't want either one or the other only. Not everything on the collage had to be both though technically anything that's math is language, so it could have counted. But if it was all math, you would have it would have been different. So it was supposed to be a little bit of both, a hodgepodge of like, where do these things show up? So it could have been everything from the PSI rating on your tires to a formula in another class, to doing your taxes, looking up tax brackets in a table. All kinds of stuff could have worked. But I can understand. Those are the kinds of questions that as they're happening, if you're a student of mine, send me that text as it's happening. Because this is now, I think the collage was due a couple days ago. So keep that in mind. As for good things, they feel like they're managing work, school, life in a good balance and have over 100% in all my other classes, and work is going very well. Good job. With that, I'm going to go say hi to my family who's just getting home from a cool, fun time.